Earlier this year, BMW released a brand new model, the 2 Series Active Tourer, and many people, including us at RPM, were very impressed with it. And while BMW was gorging on all that attention, Mercedes-Benz was quietly going around reminding people that they were the first company to make a stylish, practical family car that offered a sporty drive. It's called the B-Class, and for a long time it went unchallenged in the rather niche compact sports tourer segment. The B-Class started life as a boxy, slightly better-looking version of the old A-Class, but it wasn't until the second generation arrived in 2012 that it became something worth getting excited about. And now that second generation has undergone a facelift, and fortunately, they've done nothing to make it any less attractive. Basically, the changes include a new grille and new bumpers, as well as new packages for a revised model lineup. But essentially, it is as head-turning and attention-grabbing as ever. Our test car is the range-topping B250 AMG line, which includes lowered suspension and a few extra bits, like the wheels that make it stand out a bit more. Considering its practicality and family transport appeal, this is one very nice-looking machine. Individual enough to not look like a cut-and-paste Mercedes-Benz styling job, and a little more cohesive than the BMW 2 Series Active Tourer. The interior has also had some improvements, the biggest one, literally, being the 8-inch screen that sits permanently above the air vents. The rest is all fairly minor stuff, like the ability to select from 12 colors for the interior lighting. The rest is about what you'd expect, and it would still be a very nice cabin, even without the 50,000 rands worth of optional extras in our test car. Compared to the 2 Series Active Tourer, it is more elegant, less sporty, with a focus more on luxury rather than technology. It does have technology, like live traffic updates, internet connectivity and keyless operation as options, but it wraps them up in that typically Mercedes-Benz avant-gardeness. The space is well thought out, things all fall to hand easily, and it's solidly bolted together. Practicality is still part of the setup, including split rear seats that are adjustable forward or back, and a decent-sized boot. One of the most impressive things about the BMW 2 Series Active Tourer is how it manages to be properly sporty when driving with a bit of intent, and the B-Class isn't too bad either. The 2-litre turbo with its 155 kilowatts and 350 newton meters is very enthusiastic, but it's also very flexible. If you want to drive it in comfort mode all the time, it really doesn't mind. But then pull the left pedal and plant your foot, and it really does deliver an impressive bit of go. The fuel consumption claim is 6.1 litres per 100 Ks, but thanks to its persuasive power, we didn't manage anything near that. That's not to say it can't do better, but you'd have to be a very disciplined person to not want to take advantage of what it's offering. Thankfully, they have made one big improvement, and that's the gearbox. The last B-Class I drove had a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox, which just didn't operate as well as a dual-clutch gearbox should. The one in here is a lot better whether you're shifting gears yourself or letting it do its thing. The shifts are fairly smooth and seamless. Safety updates, yes, of course there are, include an upgraded collision avoidance system that will apply the brakes autonomously up to a point. There's also a driver attention monitoring system which attempts to mitigate the effects of drowsiness. But for all the things you can point to on paper, there's one part of the B-Class story that's quite surprising. And that's how enjoyable it is. All the compact sports tourers I've driven, or should that be both the compact sports tourers I've driven, have been very impressive. And that makes me think that this is a platform that has fun automatically built in. And so I'm kind of sad that there aren't more of them around. I wish Audi and Ford and Citroen and Hyundai and VW would hurry up and join the party. We need more of these things. Ordinarily, I'd say trying to combine practicality and sportiness into a car with a family transport bias would be a bad idea at best, or at worst, a total flop. But here in the B-Class, once again we have proof that it's undoubtedly a good thing I don't work for a motor manufacturer in any sort of decision-making position. The Mercedes-Benz B-Class is the original in its rather limited segment, but now that it has competition, it's difficult to say whether it's still the best. The BMW 2 Series Active Tourer is the more sporty option, but the B-Class is perhaps the more balanced. Both cars use a similar recipe, but the ingredients are slightly different, and so the resulting flavor isn't quite the same. As to which is the best, well, I guess it's a matter of taste. Depending on your driving mood, the 2-litre turbo can be enthusiastic or docile. You need to have some discipline to get close to the claimed fuel consumption figure. The 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox is an improvement over the previous generation. The updated B-Class has improved on the original. It's better looking with more tech and has an enjoyable drive. It's not the sportiest car in its class anymore though, being outdone by the BMW 2 Series Active Tourer.